What is good? What is good, people? What is good? Happy Sunday here. Hopefully, you had a good Saturday yesterday. 9/11. Unfortunately, rest in peace to all those people who died on that day, and the people who even died after, too, like all the first responders and everything like that. I was watching a few documentaries yesterday because that was all that was on TV, for one thing. And then for another thing, obviously the tragedy. And then, okay, I'll just say something. One thing I found interesting was that on all these news channels, they were lamenting about the fact that everything is so divided in the US now. They were talking about how on 9/12, everybody was all united, the country was all united and all this stuff. But now today, we're seeing basically the opposite of that. Like with crises, no one unites anymore. Like no one is united in general. There's so much division and all this stuff. Like they were lamenting all that crap. And then it was funny on all these news channels right after, then they talk about the insurrection, or they talk about people not getting vaccinated or some shit. And it just was really funny to me how they would lament the lack of unity, and then they would go on and do something. They would cover a topic that with an obvious bias on one side or the other. Usually, I mean, it's cable news, right? So you kind of know the side that they're on in most cases. But it was just really funny to me. Like they're lamenting the lack of unity, and then they go and do something that accentuates the lack of unity. And a lot of the first responders that they talked to, I mean, they were on the opposite side of a lot of the newscasters. So you would see a news anchor lamenting the lack of unity, discussing it with a first responder, and then asking them questions about the insurrection or something like that. And then a lot of times the first responder would kind of like, they'd give a start, try to figure out how to answer that question, because it was clear that the news channel that they were on, like the news station, was on one side of it, but then that first responder themselves was on the other side of it. So like that lack of unity and that division is just clear to see in all aspects, honestly. Like you could probably see it in your own family. But yeah, that was just interesting to me. But that is not the topic of this video. That was just something I found interesting yesterday when like watching the news, like watching different things. I mean, there was college football, and then there was 9/11 stuff yesterday, basically, on TV. But yeah, today we're going to talk about hyperinflation paradox. The United States to see 0 to 2% growth in 2022. And will we see a stock market crash in September of 2021, this month? Let's see. That's not in this script, but that's just something I've been kind of covering lately, so let's see what happens there. But we're in the midst of commodity inflation right now, and asset inflation has been going on for years. We're on the cusp of a hyperinflation cycle. Remember that it takes around 18 months for the economy to feel the effects of an increase in the money supply. So remember, 18 months ago, that was around like February or March of 2020, I believe. Depending on when I wrote this script, I think it was February, because I wrote this script in September. So think about it. We have literally not even witnessed the consequences of the pandemic era money printing. The pandemic era money printing began in April to June of 2020. So all of the inflation that we've seen thus far, it doesn't even take into account the multiple trillion-dollar stimulus packages that have been pushed out by the US government since April to June of 2020, or April, June of 2020, and then since then. Not to mention not to mention governments all around the world as well in this same time span have also been printing money. Granted, not to the extent that the United States has, but like to a great extent in their own countries. Commodity inflation, asset price inflation, hedge funds buying up entire neighborhoods, All of this we have already seen prior to witnessing the consequences of pandemic era money printing. So think about all this stuff that you've been following and witnessing. We have not even seen the effects of the huge money printing that went on since the pandemic began. If you take that 18 months to see the consequences of inflation, time span, and like phenomenon, if you take that to be true, that is very interesting, like what we've seen and like what we're about to see, given what we've seen thus far. So when taking all of this into account, it is not surprising at all that the United States is due for substandard economic growth, 0 to 2% in 2022, even with this series of proposed government spending packages that will take place in 2022. So remember, the more that the government spends, the less purchasing power that individual citizens within that country have because of increased taxation, officially and unofficially, with inflation being the unofficial tax. Economic growth is largely determined by GDP, meaning gross domestic product. Gross domestic product increases when an economy produces more stuff. I repeat, gross domestic product increases when an economy produces more stuff. The United States has been able to essentially fake growth for decades by having government spending supplement the economy, paying for the production of goods and services, mainly building homes, paying for government services, paying for schooling for people to become government workers and offer government services, etc. All the while, as this was happening though, the average United States citizen has been steadily losing purchasing power to the point where he or she needed credit in order to maintain standard of living. Over time, due to the loss of purchasing power, the average citizen could not afford to produce anything anymore, and the government had to keep spending more and more to supplement the economy. We're at a point now where, even with all of this government supplementation, it is still not enough to result in economic growth. Hence the paradox noted in the title, hyperinflation and substandard economic growth. And there you go. That's my take on it. Just tell me what you guys are witnessing in your own lives and what you're seeing from, if you're taking in a lot of YouTube content, what you're seeing from YouTube content is that manifesting itself, or are you noticing the trends in the actual real life? So are you witnessing the shortages people are talking about? Are you witnessing the inflation people are talking about? What are you witnessing that you kind of been seeing, depending on what content you're taking in? If you're kind of watching my channel, you're probably, at this point, given the channel my direction has taken, you're probably watching a lot of other economic type content. So what are you seeing that aligns with what you're getting from all of these analysts online, like these, amateur analysts? Some of them are professional, but mainly amateur analysts. Yeah, leave your comments and just things that you find interesting in general. Honestly, like the fact that we haven't even seen the impact of pandemic era money printing. Like, people think that like the United States can't go through certain things. Like, they see hyperinflation in Venezuela. They've been told stories of the hyperinflation in Zimbabwe, the food lines in the Soviet Union. So many things people, they think can't happen here. And even up to this day, they think it can happen here. But just given the trajectory of how things are going, it's almost like, I don't want to like it to climate change, but it's almost like climate change where we already can't do anything about it, because all of the all of the like the accumulation of all the previous actions, like now all we can do is sit back and witness the effects. There's no changing what was done in the past. We can change what we do in the future, but it's not going to. We're already at a point where we're gonna have to witness the consequences of the actions that were taken in the past. Like, and it's the same with the money printing. We're like 2020 is going to be very interesting, and let's see if the stock market crashes in September or October, because historically that is when, usually it's September or October, where, like, you saw that in 1987, you saw that in the Great Depression in 1929. I think it was an October crash for both of those. So let's kind of see what happens here. And yeah, like, very very interesting stuff. At some point you cannot escape the consequences of what was done previously. So I mean, with that being said, I guess just stay strapped in, keep your seatbelts on. I don't know how else to put it. Like, it's just going to be very, very interesting. So, keep taking those actions to kind of protect yourself, or, like, figure out what you're going to do, like, what you're going to build, and how you're going to kind of set up your life. I mean, post crash, honestly, is what I'm thinking, because I don't think we can avert the crash anymore. So, but that's just me. Like, what's your own analysis? Maybe leave it in the comments below. Enlighten me, educate me, because I don't know it all. The people I talk to frequently, we don't know it all. So, yeah. This Heineken bottle doesn't know it all. Okay, yeah, I'm done here. So, leave your comments below. Let me know what you guys think. Keep protecting yourselves. Keep staying healthy, and watch the everything bubble burst. That's all I gotta say for now. I will catch y'all later. Have a good day. Have a good Sunday. Hopefully it's sunny where you are. Peace out, guys.